9 experienced hikers, a tent cut open from the inside, and footprints in the snow leading away from camp made by people who weren't wearing shoes. 6 decades later, the case was officially closed twice, and each time the explanation left almost as many questions as it answered. In late January 1959, a group of 9 university students and experienced outdoorsmen set out to cross the Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union, led by a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov. Their goal was a mountain the local indigenous people called Kholat Syakhl, which translates, roughly, to Dead Mountain. On February 1st, the group pitched their tent on the slope of that mountain, rather than continuing to a more sheltered forest a mile below. It would be the last decision any of them made that searchers could reconstruct with confidence. When the group failed to check in as scheduled, a search began. 18 days later, rescuers found the tent, collapsed, half buried in snow, and cut open from the inside. All 9 sets of footprints led away from it, down the slope, into the forest. Most of the hikers were wearing only socks, or were barefoot, in temperatures far below freezing. The first 2 bodies were found near the tree line, beneath a large cedar tree, wearing only underwear. Investigators found broken branches high up the tree, as if someone had climbed it, possibly to see something, or to escape something, back toward the tent. 3 more bodies were found between the tree and the tent, in positions that suggested they'd been trying to return. The final 4 hikers weren't found until nearly 2 months later, buried under snow in a ravine, more fully dressed, in some cases wearing clothing stripped from the bodies of the hikers who had already died. Here's where the case stopped being just a story about hikers caught in bad weather. An autopsy found that 6 of the 9 had died of hypothermia, but 3 of the last 4 had catastrophic internal injuries, a fractured skull and severe chest fractures consistent with the kind of force found in a car crash, with no corresponding external wounds, bruising, or broken skin. One woman was missing her tongue and eyes, tissue loss that investigators at the time couldn't fully explain. And testing on several of the hikers' clothes later showed unusually high levels of radioactive contamination. The original 1959 investigation closed the case within months, officially attributing the deaths to, quote, a compelling, unknown natural force. The file was then classified by Soviet authorities and stayed sealed for over 30 years. In the decades since, theories have ranged from a secret Soviet weapons test to infrasound-induced panic to a military cover-up. None of them have ever been substantiated by hard evidence. In 2019, Russian investigators reopened the case using modern forensic and climate modeling techniques. In 2020, prosecutors announced their conclusion. A delayed slab avalanche, triggered by wind-driven snow accumulating above the tent, had struck with enough force to cause the internal injuries without leaving external marks, and had convinced the group a larger avalanche was imminent, prompting them to cut their way out and flee without their boots. A peer-reviewed physics study in 2021 supported the mechanics of that theory. But not everyone in the mountaineering community has been convinced. Several experienced climbers involved in the original 1959 search maintained, for the rest of their lives, that they found no physical evidence of any avalanche on that slope. No fracture line, no debris, nothing consistent with a slide. More than 60 years later, we know what the official record says killed them. What we still don't fully know is why the people who stood on that mountain in 1959 and looked for themselves never believed it.